On April 1st, 2006, a 27-year-old medical student walked into a crowded bar in Columbus, Ohio. Security cameras captured him laughing with friends, talking to strangers, having what appeared to be a perfectly normal night out. Then, at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, Brian Shaffer simply vanished. The cameras that recorded him walking into the bar never recorded him walking out. Every exit was covered. Every angle was reviewed. Brian Shaffer entered the ugly Tuna Saloona and was never seen again. No body, no crime scene, no answers. And 20 years later, this case remains one of the most baffling disappearances in American history. To understand why this disappearance is so disturbing, you need to understand who Brian Shaffer was. Brian was not the kind of person who just disappears. He was a second-year medical student at The Ohio State University, one of the most prestigious medical programs in the country. He was described by professors as brilliant, dedicated, and deeply passionate about becoming a doctor. Born and raised in Ohio, Brian grew up in a close-knit family. His father, Randy Shaffer, was a dentist. His mother, Renee, was his biggest supporter. By all accounts, Brian had a loving relationship with both of them. But just 2 weeks before he disappeared, something devastating happened. His mother, Renee, passed away from cancer. Brian was gutted. Friends said he was struggling with the loss but trying to push through. He had just 1 week left before spring break, and he planned to use that time to grieve and reset. On the night of March 31st, 2006, Brian decided to go out with friends, maybe to take his mind off things, maybe just to feel normal for a few hours. It was a decision that would lead to one of the most perplexing mysteries in modern criminal history. That Friday night, Brian and his friend Clint Florence headed to the ugly Tuna Saloona. It was a popular college bar in the South Gateway complex, right near campus. Now, here's the detail that makes this case so bizarre. The ugly Tuna Saloona was located on the second floor of a mixed-use complex. To get in, you had to go up an escalator from the ground floor, and that escalator area was covered by security cameras. Brian and Clint arrived around 9 o'clock p.m. Security footage clearly shows them riding the escalator up to the bar. They're in good spirits, talking and laughing. Inside the bar, the night was unremarkable. They drank. They talked. At one point, security cameras captured Brian talking to 2 young women near the entrance of the bar. He appeared relaxed and social. At some point during the night, Brian and Clint got separated. This wasn't unusual. It was a crowded bar. People moved around. Clint eventually left the bar without Brian, assuming his friend had either left earlier or would find his own way home. He wasn't worried. The last confirmed sighting of Brian Shaffer was at approximately 1:55 a.m. on April 1st, 2006. After that, nothing. Here's what makes investigators lose sleep over this case. The security cameras at the Ugly Tuna were positioned to capture everyone entering and leaving through the main entrance and the escalator area. Investigators reviewed every second of footage from that night. Brian Shaffer is clearly seen going up the escalator and entering the bar. He is never seen coming back down. He wasn't captured on any exit camera, not the main entrance, not the side exits, not the emergency exits, nowhere. A grown man walked into a bar on the second floor of a building and seemingly never walked out. Brian's father, Randy, knew something was wrong almost immediately. Brian wasn't answering his phone. He wasn't at his apartment. He hadn't shown up for anything. Randy filed a missing persons report, and Columbus police launched a search. Investigators went through the security footage frame by frame. They identified every single person who entered and exited the Ugly Tuna that night. They cross-referenced faces. They ran time frames. Brian Shaffer entered the bar. Brian Shaffer did not exit the bar through any recorded entrance or exit, so the obvious question became, was there another way out? At the time of Brian's disappearance, parts of the Gateway complex were under construction. There were back hallways, service corridors, and areas that may not have been fully covered by cameras. Investigators believe it's possible, though not confirmed, that Brian could have found his way into one of these construction areas and exited through an unmonitored route. But even that theory raises more questions than it answers. If he left through a back exit, where did he go? His car was still in the parking garage. His apartment was untouched. His bank accounts were never accessed again. His phone went dark. Investigators also looked closely at Clint Florence, Brian's friend who'd been with him that night. Clint cooperated initially, but later retained an attorney and stopped speaking to police. Now, to be clear, Clint has never been named as a suspect. Having a lawyer is a constitutional right, not evidence of guilt. But his silence has fueled speculation in the online true crime community for years. Police also investigated Brian's girlfriend at the time, Alexis Wagoner. She was reportedly at home during the night Brian disappeared. Their relationship was described as having some ups and downs, but nothing that pointed toward foul play. The investigation expanded. Police searched the Olentangy River, nearby construction sites, dumpsters, and surrounding areas. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Nothing. Brian's case was featured on America's Most Wanted. Tips poured in, sightings from across the country, none led anywhere. 20 years later, the theories about what happened to Brian Shaffer generally fall into 4 categories. Theory 1. He left through an unmonitored exit. The construction in the building created gaps in camera coverage. Brian may have wandered, possibly intoxicated, into a construction area and exited through a door that wasn't on camera. From there, he may have met with foul play, fallen into the river, or suffered an accident in an unmonitored area. This is probably the most accepted theory among investigators. Theory 2. Foul play inside or near the bar. Someone at the bar may have harmed Brian, and his body was concealed in the construction areas of the complex. When construction was completed and the concrete was poured, any evidence may have been permanently sealed. This theory gained traction when people pointed out that several construction areas were being poured with concrete in the days following Brian's disappearance. Theory 3. He's still alive. Some believe Brian, devastated by his mother's death and overwhelmed by the pressures of medical school, chose to disappear and start a new life. His passport was never found with his belongings, which has fueled this theory. However, there has been 0 financial activity, 0 confirmed sightings, and 0 contact with any family member in 20 years. For a person to completely vanish from the grid in the modern age is extraordinarily difficult. Theory 4. The river. The Olentangy River runs near the Gateway complex. If Brian exited through an unmonitored area while intoxicated, he could have ended up in or near the river. The river was searched but not exhaustively, and bodies in water can travel significant distances or become trapped in sediment. Brian Shaffer's father, Randy, spent the rest of his life searching for answers. He passed away in 2008, just 2 years after Brian disappeared, never knowing what happened to his son. Both of Brian's parents are now gone, and Brian, if he's still alive, is out there somewhere, 47 years old. The Columbus Police Department officially lists Brian Shaffer as a missing person. The case remains open. A man walked into a bar in front of security cameras and was never seen walking out. If you have any information about the disappearance of Brian Shaffer, the Columbus Police Department can be reached at 614-645-4545. What do you think happened to Brian Shaffer? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more cases like this one, subscribe to Cold Vault. We're just getting started.